so after some progress-based reflecting, I think this is it. I was just kind of saying to myself, like, all right, let's see how my weight changes over the next week, and then that'll tell me if I want to, try to keep bulking up or start dieting down. It's like 1 week's not really going to cut it. There's no magic after that 1 week. And historically, I fall into a little bit of a pattern of, not unsuccessfully perpetuating a bulk. Like, this one was definitely my best in terms of the condensed time frame, because usually, my rate of fucking growth is way fucking slower. So maybe I'm reaching some compounding gains from being bigger and being able to get more food down. But yeah, I think 112, that's it. So that means tomorrow I start trimming down. So I'll splice in right now after I do cardio in the morning, empty stomach, empty everything, so we can get a bit of a baseline kind of flex off. All right, so I'm cheating just a little bit on this kind of end of bulk sort of pose down, because this is after cardio, which does give you a touch of an advantage, like kind of just a minuscule pump all over. But yeah, so just after having trimmed down on the calories yesterday, like I didn't eat a full 5,000 like I had been, already dropped down to 267, and that's just water and fucking carbs. That's not anything crazy, but this is the starting form that we're going to trim down from. Oh my goodness. Man, holding those fucking vacuums, especially after cardio, tricky. But I'd say a reasonable couple of solid pounds have been added. Now I get to reveal what's underneath and get a good look. So I didn't mean to just cut myself off in the car, but I'm thinking, well, how about we just see what happens over these next, probably the difference between right now and 4 weeks from now should be very abrupt. And then 8 weeks, 12 weeks, oh my gosh. By 12 weeks from right now, I'm talking absolutely diced, which I'm definitely a bit spoiled. I don't really get too soft in my bulking phases. But let's get back to me in the car. Sorry to cut myself off there. And there's a certain understanding that you've got to have when it comes to, progressively making gains, of, even just 5 pounds a year, 2 pounds a year, whatever else kind of pounds, it's a percentage change, right? It's only kind of small percentages. For me to go from like 230 lean to 240 lean, you know what that percentage is, right? That's 4%-ish. That's only like a 4% change, right? But that's where when you do that over and over and over again, those percentages start to add up. So, not the leanest lat spread, not the most striated side chest or anything else like that, but overall, head to toe, there is some more poundage that's been deposited. But if I just keep trying to fucking put food down but not be able to eat enough, and then just waste my time bouncing around 270 for the next 2 months, I'm not going to get anything extra out of it. So that's where I'm getting a little smarter, and I think you got to be able to pull the trigger on this sort of stuff, because it's very I mean, it's not like I'm turning away from the worst situation in the world, right? I mean, even just staying bulked without growing, it is nice because I get to eat a ton of food, nice and strong. Pumps are all crazy. I mean, there's not really too many downsides, but yeah, I know that just the way that plateau of 272 hit me, I'm not going to be able to get past it. At least, well, judging based on my historical bulk progressions. So that's it. 240 to 272 in a time frame of 3 months and what is that? 3 months and 3 weeks. So just almost a 4-month bulking phase. That's about right. So I'm going to start trimming down. Now, I'm not exactly sure if this is well, yeah, show day is going to be in the future. That's for sure. Of any, crazy things that are going to come next, that's definitely one of the first ones on the list. But, we'll see what happens. I want it to line up with what I already do, right? So if I'm already going to be lean, adding an extra month and a half of, serious dieting to get from that 8%, 7, I don't know. Body fat percentages get a little funky when you get bigger, but my usual leanness that I can get to pretty easily, purely with, just dieting down for like 3 months, that's not too far off from taking that another step further and getting a little more serious with the depletion to get to a show kind of ready state. So I'm not gonna call this the prep series yet, because there's no end goal show that it's working towards, but I think that's the plan. So probably early next year we'll see if we can find something or other. But so this first month of easing back on the calories, it'll basically be just hit my protein, of course, and then eat what I'm hungry for. That's usually what's my first month or so. Well, not a month, maybe a few weeks of any dieting phase starts with, because I want to ease into it and not just immediately crash my calories to like 0 and then just kind of go from there. So I'm yeah. Oh. Now I'm getting excited to get fucking lean again. I was looking back at all my previous kind of dieting pictures and like old TikToks and stuff. Yeah, I think 2 dieting phases ago, or maybe 3. It might have been 3 dieting phases ago. I took it the furthest, where I was the freakiest lean wise. So I want to bring that back. But I can still look back at this bulking phase and call it a good success. A 10-pound fucking weight PR. But, again, looking at the percentages, my last bulking phase peak weight was 260. This bulking phase's peak weight was 272. So what's 12 divided by fucking 260? This would be a good time to have Hey Siri activated. I'm not really into that too much, but let me think. So 260. I can't do the math, but that is less than fucking 4%. That's probably 3 point something. Yeah, 3 point, let me do a quick guess. You tell me if I'm right. 3.6%? Dude, if you held a dumbbell that was 3.6% heavier than the other one, you're not going to fucking notice. But that doesn't take away from the fact that it is. So, plan for today's lift. Back. I need to go to the front desk and ask if they have any straps in the lost and found. I keep losing mine. Like, they're not lost. I know the gym that I left them at, but I keep putting them down and not picking them up. But I guess this will technically count as the last day of the bulk. So tomorrow will be freaking Shredzilla 2024 Winter Arc Diced Demonic Leanness Day 1. Name, up for debate still. But let's just go thrash back and then continue to reflect. I'm yeah, I've already like switched gears in my mind where I'm getting fucking excited about the deficit. So let's just get in there. So let's change it up a touch. And really, I'm kind of on a squeezing first, then more heavy shit after kind of kick. And I like it because it just warms me up well. So I'm gonna start with single arm pullovers. It's failure gets a little tricky on these because as I get more and more fatigued in my lats, I can kind of cheat it with my lower chest and some of my traps a little. So basically going to the point of really no more reasonable range of motion with lat focus, then switch arms. And yeah, at least for me, I'm not gonna prefer this with like a rope because I don't get the same like depth of a squeeze. Like I'm sure this is probably the logic when guys do like a seated chest press, and instead of doing both at once, sometimes they kind of sit one arm and do it like this. Because now instead of like just pushing to here, you almost get a deeper contraction even further. And I don't know why the squeeze isn't getting any fucking love right now. I mean, people hear the word ancient, ancient. What am I saying? Lengthened partials. What do you want me to sit here and do a set like this? Yes, come on. If you're not really squeezing, at least for some of your lighter squeezing sets, I do think you're missing out, at least on training variability. But let's left side first, then right side. This will probably be, I don't know, 20 reps-ish, maybe 2 sets here, and then move on to more of a pull down row or something in between. God damn it, come on. There we go. No. 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 Okay. Yeah. Okay. Ooh. One more like that. And then let's move on. Oh. Oh. Yeah. Oh. Ew. Yeah. Oh. Oh my gosh. Ooh.
Okay. Whew. All right. Let's move on to what would you do? Let's find out if we're thinking the same thing. I think let's do some alternating sets. So I'm going to do a set, moderate form, moderate tempo to failure, with just a slightly wider than shoulder width, easy bar curl grip. Then next set, pull downs to failure. Then rows to failure, then pulls down to failure, and just go back and forth a couple times. Not in a superset fashion. Each set will have its own full rest period, but it is kind of, well, I mean, it just kind of makes sense, right? I'm trying to fully pump out my back. Hit it from up here, hit it from down here, hit it from every fucking angle until it's completely worn out. Pose down, see how pumped it is. We get the gist. So let's get amped up for this first set of rows. All right, come on. Okay. All right. Wait a few minutes. Now set of pull downs. Okay. Ooh. Whew. Back to rows. Okay. Okay. Whew. Now, I would not categorize that as ego lifting. That's just a faster tempo set. Now, it'd be different if I was sitting here like this. I think you do lose some actual muscle activation there. But if you're just doing a little bit of a quicker set, I think it just changes your fucking training style or your variability for your lift. But let's do a set of pull downs, then move on to something else. All right. Yeah. 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 Okay. Okay. Let's drop this shit. Okay, goodness. Holy crap. Whew. Okay. Yeah. I think one more little squeezing finisher. Back's done. I haven't added this to the end of one of my back days for actually a couple lifts, so I think it's due. Setup is as such. Bench yay far away, 45 degrees. Cable high as it goes with 2 long D handles. And then it's, I'm kind of combining a row with a pull down, right? So I'm using the lat stretch of a pull down, right? Because in the front of the rep, well, let me put these straps on, but when I'm at the top of the rep, I lean forward and I really try to open up my shoulder blades and my lats. But as I pull down, I'm not just gonna stay bent forward like this. I'm actually gonna lean back and try to squeeze my traps and everything else in between. So let me just get my song playing and we can make this shit happen. Oh. Okay. All right. Let's bust out some last spreads. Probably right friggin' here. It's lighting is sweet. But back complete. Not the most strenuous lift for me. I never have trouble having a good back day. But let's go see what kind of pump that costs. All right, so this lighting is actually fucking perfect. Straight overhead should reveal any separations between my traps and rhomboids and anything else freaky in between. But this is the last, actually, holy crap. This is the last bulked pump check of 2024. May as well fucking enjoy it. So let's try to pull this beater down so my lats are actually fully exposed. Oh, look at this. Let's see what's back. Ooh. Ooh. The back especially is where I need one mirror here, and then maybe it might be a little bit too silly, but you know how like cyclists wear like a visor where they have a mirror on the side of their head so they can see behind them? Because when I do a lat spread, I want my shoulders at the same height. I want them like totally symmetrical, open to the same level. Because if it's not, then, I mean, when I face the mirror, you know, you can immediately adjust. It's like, oh, if I'm, okay, here, perfect. Or same thing with double bi. It's like, okay, that's nice and symmetrical. But when you turn around, I've had a bad habit. I used to do this. I would like flex and I'd, like this used to feel normal. Have my arm like this high up. So that's where having a double mirror setup is very fucking nice. But last bulked fucking pump check of the year, at least for me. Let's get the car and reflect. Oh, whoops. Forgot to take off the ND filter for anybody who knows what I'm talking about there. So, aesthetics, here we fucking come. Oh my goodness. I'm getting amped. I am getting freaking amped. So, I'll, well, I guess no need to highlight all the real changes once the diet starts. I can talk about that
tomorrow, you know, once it's actually started. So let's have a little look back on this bulk. Whoops. Steady weight gain, reasonable strength gain, plus a newfound love for more quad-based pressing. Yes, that is the way to freaking do it. So I have no doubt that over the coming weight gaining phases, that having an increased pressing load will improve my fucking quad gains. Plus, they already have for this bulking phase, but I'm talking over the next few years. You know, I've got a couple pairs of jeans that I just bought where they actually fit pretty well. Yeah, next 2 bulking phases, I'm gonna have to completely overhaul the fucking closet. But speaking of the closet, that makes me a little bit little happy, because now once I start to, I mean, deflate is a very good word, right? I mean, over the next like 2 weeks, I'm probably going to drop like easily 10 pounds down to 260 just from being more carb and glycogen depleted, right? So I mean, yeah, that's just the nature of it, right? So again, thinking about it from a percentage standpoint, that's only like a 3% drop in weight, right? But it is substantial enough where you'll notice. And maybe if you don't notice, I'll definitely fucking notice. You know, if you go from having really bulked up pump checks to being a little bit flatter one day, you're gonna say, oh man, what the hell? But that's where you gotta toughen up, right? So usually things are a little, well, bulking up actually is at least in the bulking and cutting kind of rotation of things, you pretty much look the freakiest right when you start a bulk after a dieting phase, and less than fortunately for me at this current moment, you look the worst right at the beginning of a dieting phase, right after a bulking phase. Because if you've been trimming down and you get actually like lean, like you're sub 10, not even sub 10, but like you're around 10% body fat, you can see your abs, you can see maybe just a hint of quad feathering depending on how big your quads are. You know, you can see pretty much all the muscle that's going around underneath your baseline level of skin, right? Now, if you're depleted, then if you go 2 days and just go nuts on carbs, like you have an extra like 500 grams of carbs for 2 days straight, you are immediately going to look fucking freakier. Your pumps are going to be more pumped, right? You're going to be kind of you'll definitely see a momentary strength and endurance gain in your lifts. I mean, it's like fucking magic. You just instantly gain 3 pounds of intramuscular fluid, carbs, I mean, that glycogen I'm talking about, where it just makes you look like a nutcase. Now, the opposite is when, okay, I'm pretty much as soft as I ever get, and my muscles themselves are about to shrink down just a touch, because now I'm no longer slamming a goddamn 700, 800 grams of carbs per day. So that's why you'll hear, like, the beginning of a dieting phase, people usually feel the crappiest. Because once you build up momentum and you kind of start to get the results that you're aiming for, then you get comfortable. I mean, you know, if I'm dieting down, I'm like going to be like, oh, I'm kind of hungry, but I'm freaking dice, so it feels pretty cool. Let's just keep going. You know, it's that, it's those first few weeks where, you know, dude, I've been tracking, man. I'm like, I'm hungry all the time. I'm not any leaner. What the hell? It's like, you got to broaden your time frame. You know, 2 weeks is nothing. In the scheme of changes to your body, 2 weeks is pretty much fucking jack. But once you get into 4 weeks, once you get into 6 weeks, once you get into 8 weeks, depending on how, you know, locked into whatever kind of thing you're doing is, that can be a pretty serious amount of time. Make some fucking serious changes to however you look, be it bulking up or dieting down, getting a touch leaner. So that's where I'm not envious of the lifters who find themselves in a perpetual plateau, but only due to a you know, a lack of kind of jumping in with both feet to one state or the other. Because I think the trajectory from non-lifter to pretty experienced lifter, let's say a 5-year course, I think those first 2-3 years, I wouldn't even really freak out about trying to do an insane bulking phase or a crazy dieting phase, That is, if you started at like a kind of a classic weight. 15% body fat, just regular dude, like nothing crazy. Now, of course, if you're upwards in like the 30, 40, I mean, depending on the guy, 50% body fat range, then you've got a different approach, because now you've got a fat loss transformation before your real kind of muscle building gets revealed, which I'm not the best guy to ask for that kind of thing, because I haven't really lived that. I can tell you my advice, which like objectively would be right, but that I'm missing out on the subjective side of things. I came up from the more just skinnier regular kid kind of approach, like 160-pound 16-year-old, to where I'm at now. So I just haven't lived that, right? But same thing, maybe you'd have to just focus on that. Not even maybe, you'd have to focus on that dieting deficit side of things first, and then once you're at a baseline level of leanness, just get your main gaining going. But for the more kind of just baseline character, which I think most starting people are probably around, then hit your protein. If you're a 160-pound kid or guy, I don't know how old you are, eat 160 grams of good protein a day. Actually slam some shakes if necessary. I see no problem with the protein supplementation. I wouldn't want to eat all my protein just from like shakes or like meal replacement things like that. But you're not gonna suddenly nullify your gains if you have 2 scoops of a chocolate whey with some blended ice, right? Plus, I mean, depending on the guy, even getting 160 grams of protein can be a chore, so drinking it can help. But if you hit that protein goal and then eat as much food as your body is basically hungry for, then when you add a weight training routine into that scenario, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, if you're a real nutcase, 7 days a week, but definitely not completely necessary, right? Honestly, to go from 0 days a week of working out to even just every other day, so that would be 3 to 4 depending on the week, you're going to see serious gains for sure. I don't think that's like the most optimal approach. I feel like a 3-day on, 1 day off is getting close to pretty much perfect. But even that's what I'm trying to say. Adding any training is going to be nuts. So that 1 to 2 year mark, hit your protein, lift hard, get training experience, talk to the experienced guy at your gym, learn some more intel that you might not have known, ask him for form tips, little things like that. And then just get smarter as a lifter. If you're actually working out hard, a lot of things are going to fall into place. If you're, so there's a pretty wide demographic of people watching these videos. So I get to ask like any parents who had kids where they started working out. I mean, especially moms, you guys are like hypersensitive to any changes in like their diet, their sleep, their kind of just routines and everything else. If you see them start working out like religiously, I'm talking every day after school, we're going to the gym, we're actually pushing it. It doesn't matter if you're a fucking like professional curl, perfect form, whatever. If you're working out hard, you'll see they're going to start chowing down way more. So it's kind of like you're giving your body a need by having some intense training, because then it's going to say, dude, fuck, you got to recover from this kind of shit. You need more food. How does your body tell you to eat more food? Well, you feel hungry. So for that 1 to 2, even to 3 year of just main gaining, you're good. I mean, that's all I fucking did. I wasn't bulking or anything. I was hitting my protein and just working out hard. There was no bulking yet. And maybe I'm missing out because I wasn't bulking back then, but also it didn't really match my MO, my main objective. Because I wasn't just working out. I was doing like diving and shit at the same time. For me to really push it weight-wise kind of gets in the way of that. I mean, I haven't forgotten how to do all those flips and twists and everything else, but I tell you something, it's way harder now that I've got an extra, basically 100 fucking pounds on my build compared to when I was a bit lighter. But after that, I think you're going to need to start doing a little calorie manipulation. Maybe, just as simple as something like upping your carb intake, making sure you hit like a 300-400 or whatever else. Like look up a macro tracker. Well, a macro tracker, yeah, but also look up a maintenance calorie calculator online. Plug in your information. That should give you a good baseline. Just watch some just go on YouTube. How to eat in a bulk, or how to plan my diet as a bodybuilder, you know. And there's a lot of junk info out there for sure, but if you watch these videos and you try to take notes for the stuff that you think is actually going to work out, dude, before you know it, you're going to be a goddamn pro. Oh, fucking deer about to jump in front of that car. And then, you know, little things like, oh crap, dude, I need to do yeah, I only had 150 grams of carbs today before this workout. I could feel it. Like, that's just going to become your new thing, right? But yeah, don't you know, I'm talking about bulking and cutting everything else, dude. I'm not knocking main gaining in any capacity. But if you main gain for long enough and then you reach a point where you're no longer growing, if you're no longer making gains, then all the effort that you're putting into the working out, it's just effort to maintain your state. So that's where I say, if you're not, you know, if nothing's changing, then the routine that you're doing isn't working. It's working enough to stay where you are, but, you know, if you're not actually making some vector of progress, take a few steps back, try to analyze your shit, and then make it happen. So now that I've reached a certain level of knowledge about calorie intake, and half of it also is just kind of a little disciplinary too. Like, I know not to just go crazy on like a cheat day 2 weeks into my dieting phase, partially just because I know it's not going to work. I'm just going to totally screw myself gains wise. But I've gotten to the point where now it's not a question of like, okay, am I going to be able to lose body fat this time? Am I going to be able to get leaner during these next 3 months? Like, the amount of information I've got on the subject now, it's not a point of if. It's simply to what degree, right? So that's where I think a lot of things are potentially mystified and, right, given a certain allure just because the information isn't really, you know, kind of understood. Right? A magic trick is no longer magic once you know the tricks and the steps behind it. So that's my little ender there. So I'm gonna go check on my dog and cat at my parents' house because they're out of town. So I'll see you tomorrow for day 1 of whatever I end up calling that, a little series for a actually not a reasonably, highly effective muscle maintaining arm pump. So I'll see you for that.